Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Manage the Wild. I'm your host, Nick Madsen. Pneumonia has popped up in the Hells Canyon area of Idaho. They recently released news on their page. My sister sent me a link. She spends a lot of time on the river with her husband floating, and this news is not great news. Back in 2020, I was asked to help with a facility that had a bunch of quarantined bighorn sheep that had been infected with M.OVI. And M.OVI it gets in the sheep's lungs, Mycoplasma, ovipneumoniae, it gets in their lungs and it affects them, giving them pneumonia and a bunch of other problems. Bighorn sheep U number 28 was one of the first ones infected, and you can just see, these are some of the signs that you can start to see, some of the coughing, that deep coughing, and slowly it spread throughout the population of bighorn sheep, and it just creates problems. It ended up causing them to stop drinking, they stopped eating, they started aborting their fetuses, and ultimately we had to euthanize them. So this popping up in Idaho is not great. I got to spend last summer on the river for a week, and it was beautiful. We actually saw this population of bighorn sheep come down to the river, and it was just awesome to see, and it just sucks. In their write-up they had on their news article, they said that it's hard to tell what the severity is going to be. How much die-off are they expecting? And the fact is they just don't know, because some populations of bighorn sheep are affected, some are not affected at all, and so looking at the severity of it, they just have no prediction of what it's going to be. So in here, it says that they could expect population declines ranging from 5% to 100%, and about average is 50% survive the initial die-off. So you just don't know. There's populations all over the West that have been infected with pneumonia of some kind or another. Some populations are doing really well, some are not. We had a population of bighorn sheep here in Utah on Antelope Island that ended up dying, and to stop the spread for the population that they were, or the translocation, they were bringing in some sheep, and to stop the spread, they just decided to euthanize the rest of the bighorn sheep on Antelope Island, bring in some more sheep. But there are other populations that are infected. So translocations with bighorn sheep are really difficult to get approved, just because if you bring in infected sheep, then you compromise your whole herd, and it's hard to know what to do. Here they go on to say, unfortunately, there is no way to slow the spread of the disease or reduce deaths. They're going to let it run its course and then monitor. So there's two units, the Hells Canyon North and the South Hells Canyon. The north side has about 180 animals, and the south side has about 40. So it puts your population somewhere between 200 and 250. And so what is that going to do to hunting? That's the question that a lot of people are asking. But the question I'm asking is, what's it going to do to the population? You may completely wipe out the population, not necessarily the hunting. When they've had ram tags, it seems like they're somewhere around 100%, which is good for them. But as far as what this could do to the population, it could be catastrophic. Depending on how separated these different populations are within the unit. So some of the issues that you may have is you may have an animal that gets sick, and it's constantly sick. It doesn't die, but it's chronically sick. It's a shedder is what they call them. They are constantly shedding and getting sick and making the other animals around them sick. What you don't want is, you don't want a male to get sick and then move looking for ewes to go and mate with and infect another population. And that's kind of how this spread happens, is you get these different animals moving from herd to herd and looking for more territory, more room, as well as more mating opportunities, and then they start to infect all the different populations. Now, this is rough rugged terrain, but that's exactly what sheep love. The other thing is it's kind of a tri-state area. You got Oregon, Idaho, and Washington in this area, and they all have bighorn populations. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens, what's the response of each of these states as they go and monitor and assess. But when you get this in a population, no biologist likes that news. You automatically know what's going to happen, and it just makes you sick, and it just sucks. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Hopefully it plays out better than the quarantine population that we had, as well as the Antelope Island population here in Utah and some of the other populations across the West in the United States. So that's what I got for you guys today. Hope you guys are having a better day than the bighorn sheep in Hills Canyon area. Stay wild.